Sweet surrender as I love, serve, and remember.
I release and I let go. It reminds me of a time in my life. There was a time in my life when I thought I had to do it all. I don't have to sing it for myself. And we've all had those times, right? I have a particular story that goes with I release and I let go. Oh, Jack was saying if I was going to sing anymore. I might, you never know. Oh, okay. So this song goes very well with one part of my life that I would want to talk about, because as I mentioned that we're doing the Life Divine, I'm so excited for it for next year, and especially we've already got next month going. And this is sort of the lead up to that, because releasing is always the beginning. Something new can't happen if we're not letting go of what is old. So I had gotten to a point in my life where I had to release and let go, because I did think I was doing it all for myself. And I want to say, first of all, I like nuance. So it's not bad that I was doing things for myself. Meaning, there are times where we can feel victimized by the world, by relationships we're in, by our job, by circumstances, and we don't feel very empowered. And it's really important that we step into our power, that we recognize that we are not a victim to the world around us, and that I can use my thoughts, I can use this creative process to create a world that works for myself. So when I say that I was doing it, I was struggling, it wasn't because I was victimized by anything. For me, this is my own little story. I know everyone has different stories. It was because I had taken these laws of creativity, of affirmation, as far as I could take them, and then I got to a place of limitation in relationship, in work, in everything. I had reached a certain level, and I just couldn't go past it. I couldn't see any further, and it was getting me more and more sad. So I was feeling empty and scared because I didn't know what else there was out there. I had created my reality, and it didn't work. It was like in Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he says you can climb a ladder, but if it's against the wrong wall, it's not a great ladder to climb. And that's what had happened. I created my reality, I climbed the ladder, but it wasn't my wall. So now what do? I had depended on my own empowerment, which was good, but it could only take us so far. And so I got to the end of my rope, 1991, doing it all on my own, figuring this stuff. I mean, I was still in a New Thought church. In fact, just a little side note, because I was talking to Julian. You know, when you're going through college, he has this football team. And I was pointing out, when you're in spiritual community, you always have a community. You always have family, wherever you are. And I think it sort of amazes him sometimes because he grew up in it, but he didn't realize how supportive a community is. And I recognize, oh my gosh, I've been living in New Thought spiritual communities for 35 years, and I just take it for granted. But oh my gosh, to be in community with people who know that there's only one power and one presence every year, all these years, there's no substitute. Because we can't do it on our own. I couldn't do it on my own. I needed other people. And I still had to make my own choices. So it's always a both and. So I decide to surrender my life to God. Many of you have heard the story. So surrender my life to the universe, however you want to put it. You can say, I surrender it to the great I am. I surrender everything to the great I am. That's right on. I surrender everything to the divine intelligence of the universe. Yes. I surrender everything to you. Yes. These are all different forms of the same thing of surrendering and recognizing there's something more intelligent, more loving, more visionary than I ever will be. And so I got to the point where I trusted it completely with my life. And so on December 31st, 1991 at 11:30 p.m., I sat in my dining room, glass table, made my little tiny altar, and wrote to the divine that From this moment forward, I was putting the divine first every single day, no matter what. No matter how tired I was, no matter what my emotional life was, no matter how busy I was, no matter what my work life was, I was putting the divine first. And the way I was doing it, I had been given 3 spiritual practices. Get into that later, January. But that gave me somewhere to put my attention. And so in doing that, in making that commitment, I was letting go of control. I was no longer seeking, like, what's the perfect job for me? Where's my career going? I was no longer, what do I do about my relationship? I don't really like it, but I don't know what else to do. I stopped trying to fix or change my life completely. I put all the tools that I learned aside, and I only focused on one thing, giving my life every day to the divine presence. So when we release and let go, we are surrendering to something that knows us better than we know ourselves. And we have to trust it. If I am surrendering, if I had done that same thing, but I was still holding on to wanting my relationship to look a certain way, to wanting a certain job, to wanting anything in my life a certain way, I wasn't letting go. I wasn't releasing. So here's my other little caveat. Always we want to have, I'm no longer into a simple life, because I think the spiritual journey is complex and multidimensional, and we're all at different points in our lives. There are times where I'm not ready to let go. Like, I'm still working on something. Be honest. Always be honest. Am I ready to let this go? It just happened to work out for me that by the end of December, by December 31st, I was ready to let it all go. Prior to that, if I tried to do that in September, I wasn't ready yet. I was still trying to work things out, fix things, make things happen. If you had asked me to surrender completely, and it's not the time of year, I'm just using this, it just happens to work really well in that one year, I wouldn't have been able to do it because I was still very attached. I wasn't ready to release and let go, and that's okay. But when we are talking about releasing and letting go, we're talking about letting go. Letting go. Letting go. And so I moved into the year, letting go, putting my attention on the divine presence. I release and I let go. Now, when we surrender and let go and let God, we've all heard that, let go and let God, let go and let the divine. That doesn't mean everything just works out perfectly. I had some wonderful, amazing things that happened, but in order to let go, I had to continue to let go, to allow this new space that I had created. I was now willing to allow something new to be birthed. I was letting go, moving in. I had to let go even more as the year went on. So I was in a New Thought program. It was a ministerial program. It was an independent New Thought church in Arcadia, California, Santa Anita Church. If you're ever there, visit it. It's gorgeous. But the only way you could take classes was to be in the ministerial program. So I had no call to be or interest in being a minister, but I wanted to take classes. Well, as I'm doing this surrendering, I'm realizing this isn't for me. This doesn't even make sense to me. So I had to have a conversation with the minister, the dean of the school as well, and tell him that I was withdrawing from the program, and I'm just crying. And he's like, well, what are the tears about? And I said, well, it's because I have no idea what's next. This gave me something to hold on to, and now I have nothing to hold on to. It was scary. But I knew what I was doing was letting go. I kept giving my life to God. So even though I was doing a program about New Thought principles in a New Thought church, I still knew it wasn't the right thing. Because now I'm listening. When we surrender, when we let go, and we want new life to come through us, we have to listen. There's just no way around it because we're no longer in control, right? You all know this, right? I'm just reminding you of what you know. Right, Jim knows that. So then I went into 30 days of silence because I really had nothing else to do. I didn't know how to move forward. The 30 days of silence, by the end of spoiler alert, by the end of the 30 days, I still had no idea what I was going to do. But 2 things happened in those 3 days. One is I got my connection to God even deeper because all I was doing was being with God, and it went deeper and deeper and deeper. And from that place, I just had this internal knowing, there's no way I will be a worthy vehicle of you, my conversations with the divine, if I'm not in joy. I have to be in joy, or I'm just not going to show up. I'm not going to be that interested. And I need to be financially taken care of. I need to have money, so I don't want to worry about money. I just want to be financially taken care of. Those are my two things. But I didn't stress out about them. I wasn't in science of mind. You have to create reality. I wasn't any of that. I was just an awareness. I had it and just continued on. The 30 days ended, went to a Wednesday night service at Agape when I realized, oh, he's a mystic. I'd been there previously. All the yelling distracted me. But finally I could hear, I'm like, oh, this is coming from a whole nother place. And so one of the main songs at Agape is I release and I let go. So as I was releasing and letting go, I was getting called back to the East Coast. So I got some tapes from Agape, and I got a few service tapes. Every Sunday service, they sang, I release and I let go. This was the theme. The first song was use me, and I release and I let go. Those were the songs I was singing every week. And these are the only cassettes I had, so I just kept playing them over and over. And then I had the I release and let go cassette tape, which begins with I release and let go and ends with I release and let go. So I was singing this a lot as I'm moving East Coast. I release, I let go. Use me. I release, I let go. I release, I let go. The open vehicle, when we release and let go, it didn't happen instantly. For some of you, it may happen instantly. I release and I let go, and immediately the new life comes flooding in. But for some of us, it takes time. And so for me, music helps. It gave me something to sing about, to stay in my intention. I can have my intention, but I was learning, that's what the spiritual practices, I was learning that I had to have practices that kept me, I know you music people know, they keep us, I know you all know that, keep us in that vibration. So I was staying with my dad in Arlington, Virginia, and I just remember walking around the neighborhood. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. My neighbor, or my dad's neighbor, 2 houses down, had just gotten out of a psychiatric hospital. She had spent 3 weeks there, and she was radiating. She said, that was the most incredible experience of my life. I loved it. You should try and apply there. The neighbor on the other side of my dad's house was saying, oh, this is a terrible time to apply for jobs in hospitals. They're laying people all over the place in this area. And it was on the news. So I just let go. I didn't know. Went to the job, got hired immediately. But I still didn't have a sense of, oh, this is it. There wasn't like a click, oh, this is where I belong. I release and I let go. Use me, oh God. Just keep going. Use me, I release. Use me, I release. The first training I have to do is for assaultive and aggressive behavior. And I'm thinking, this is not a good sign for joy. And I remember getting ready for work, just crying. I release and I let go. And so much of what we're releasing is we're going through this stage everywhere in December 29th, December 31st. If you want to release and let go, we have our magnificent Burning Bowl service tomorrow night, 7 p.m. here, led by Reverend Kathy. It's such a powerful time to let go. And so much of what we often can be letting go is of our resistance. That looks scary to me. I was not the type of a person who wants to deal with assaultive and aggressive behavior. I had total resistance. I had to release my resistance. I have to release to the things that are unlike what I think I would find joy at. Release, release, release. But the harder thing to release is our attachments. And I remember when Joel Goldsmith says this in his book, Thunder of Silence, that when he was working with people, it's usually the things that we want we have a really hard time letting go of. Because we're told, you can be prosperous, you can have all these things, and so we get very attached to having those things as our source. And then to let them go, as we heard today, if you manifest something and you can get really attached to it, that's the source of my good. And so part of this spiritual, the living the life divine, is to let go of even the good stuff. to even let go of the things that I thought that I needed to make me happy. I had to let that go. My attachments to what I thought were going to make me happy, let it go. So this is an invitation for all of us at the end of the, because it's not just at the end of the year, at any point when we're ready to, this is the life divine, anytime we're ready to release and let go, we are releasing, we're letting go, and one of the main things we're letting go is of our attachments and our resistances. So I started working there, and first it was really hard. There was a lot of, I could feel all the energy. It was a private psychiatric hospital, so most of the people that were there out of choice. And so there was an energy of sadness, and I started to feel dense. I release and I let go. My heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. And so I kept saying, there's only God. There's only God. As I hear their stories, there's only God. There's only God. And as I just kept staying with that song, with that intention, and I spent the 30 days of Thunder of Silence with Joel Goldsmith. There's only one. There's only one. No matter how much the world wants to convince you there's two, there's only one. And I kept practicing, and I found myself falling in love with people. Day after day, I would come, and my heart was just like, wow. And there'd be so much pain, too. And so forgiveness, when we release and let go, forgiveness is so key, but authentic forgiveness, not jumping to forgiveness, stepping over the anger, the sadness, the grief, but through the anger, the resentment, the grief, the sadness. We find light on the other side, but only when we're willing to forgive. So forgiveness is such an essential practice of I release and I let go. You're still living in the past, you're still holding on, you're still constricted until we are able to forgive. And that's, again, don't release and let go until you're ready. If you're not ready to forgive, be gentle and compassionate with yourself. And when you are ready, let it go. Because it's the greatest gift you can give yourself, but not before you're ready. That's a whole nother talk. So walking through, my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. We have faith. I didn't know what was happening with every person. Everyone had different stories. But I had faith. I believed in the divine presence. So not only was I falling in love, not only with the patients, but with the nurses and the doctors and the administrators and the maintenance folks. It was like this whole place had become heaven for me. And I realized I was in total joy. I loved going to work. When I didn't have to work some days, I felt sad because I wasn't going to be in heaven. Why would I not want to go to heaven? I was in this place where my heart got to be tender and soft, and people didn't have all these masks on. People weren't trying to hide and pretend to be someone they're not. People were naked. Their souls were naked, and I got to be naked in God. I get to be open my heart, and it was tender, and it was beautiful, and compassionate, and healing. And then I started realizing, you know what? They didn't just pay me one time. They just keep sending me paychecks. I was working in a hospital, and this is a private hospital before the insurance companies went nutso. So I was getting paid very well. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm getting paid for this. I'm getting paid to be in heaven. This whole experience never, ever, ever would I have done on my own. If someone had said, do you want to work in a psychiatric hospital? My first answer, absolutely not. That sounds like a horrible job. It looks depressing. And all the sort of feelings, the preconceived ideas of what it would be would have been a long list before I even consider it. The only way I got to walk into this job that I loved so much was surrender, was release, let go of being in control. Let go of thinking that I know best. Let go of thinking that I know best. I release and I let go. And when it happens like that, we become light. You all know that. You've all had these moments of total surrender, right? Don't you feel really light? You feel free? You feel freedom? I'll be very quiet. Release. We are freer, we are lighter, we are more at play. You can't play and be heavy and carrying around burdens. When we play, we are light, we are free, we are not worrying about things. We know everything is being taken care of. All our needs are met. We are trusting our universe for not just one thing, not just for one day, not just for one job, but as a complete way of life. Releasing and letting go becomes a way of life. I release. I love what Joel Goldsmith says. What a practice to release and let go of the entire world every single day. To let go everything and be brand new. Be willing to be that beautiful baby in the morning. I'm brand new. That doesn't mean we don't carry all these blessings from our past or the wisdom. It's not like we're not naive. But we're innocent, we're open, we're available, we're welcoming, not just once, not just at the big moments. That was a big moment in my life. We've all had those big moments, but then we have the day-to-day, as Howard Thurman says, the dust and the grind of the journey. And this is why living the life of the divine is so important, because it's about day in and day out, releasing and letting go. Just let it all go. Just let it all go. When you're ready. And then when you're ready again, let it all go again. Ramana Maharshi says it's very rare when one person can completely let go of their entire life all at once, that every one of us does it in layers. But always the idea of why do we do it? To let even greater good come into our life. And there is always greater good. We're dancing with spirit throughout all aspects of our life. There's still challenges. There's been lots of challenges as I've continued to grow. I know we all still have challenges. This is not about living a pain-free, effortless life. It is living with a presence and a power that's walking with us every step of the way, guiding us, directing us perfectly. And the more we trust it, the more open, the more vulnerable, the more free, the more joy, the more peace, the more love that we will constantly feel regardless of what's happening out there. Yeah? Yeah? I had to get a yes from Jerry. Release and let go and dance through all of 2025. So I invite us, for those of you who are in that place right now, end of the year, 2024, we're coming to an end. What are you willing to let go of? For some people, at that point, that was such a crisis point, I let everything go. But even if it's just an area, I let go of my attachments around work. Someplace where you want to shift, my health, my relationships. What else is there? Whatever issues or stuff that's going blocks, you might be ready to say, okay, this area, I'm going to try it just for this one area. I'm going to trust the universe completely and surrender, release, and let go. And when you're ready, we happen to have this burning bowl ceremony tomorrow at 7 p.m. It's a wonderful time of letting go, but also just sitting in your living room or dining room and letting go. Start the new year as much as you can, free, clear. And I'll just throw out the things that people normally say, like clean your emails, your closets, everything. Clean everything. The idea is just to create space. So there's the external stuff, but this is the internal stuff. Clear yourself out. Clear yourself out. Forgive. Where you are able to forgive, forgive. Where you are able to let go, let go. Where you are able to release, release. Trust this beautiful, loving universe with every aspect of our life. And we are living the life divine. Let's pray. And so we just release. Release is really the beginning of all prayer. We release holding on. We release our resistance. We release our attachments to what we want, what we think we need to be happy. We can never add on to spirit. There's nothing that we can say or do that will add on to the good of Spirit. Nothing that we could say or do that will add on to Spirit. So we just surrender, we release, we let go. When we release and we let go, we allow ourselves to be a vehicle of this divine love, this divine presence that only wants our good, that only wants to be fully alive as each and every one of us on every level and dimension of our being. It wants full aliveness, freedom, joy, that is inward first and foremost, that is of the divine first and foremost, that is in that first cause realm where we are never limited. We are never limited, that everything that is true about us lies in this first cause awareness. And so we bask in prayer in first cause, before the conditions, before the effects, before anything in the material world. We stand in this awareness in first cause that everything is already glorious. It is already heavenly. It is already full of joy. It is abundant. It is generous. It is infinite. It is eternal. It is peace. It is harmony. It is beauty. It is creativity. Everything that is real is first cause before all conditions, before anything that we can see, hear, taste, touch, or smell, or experience with our human self is first in spirit. And this is where we begin and live our life from. One power, one presence. It is all there ever is and ever will be. It is who and what each and every one of us is right now. It knows exactly what each and every one of us knows for our divine healing, for our perfect expression, for our play, for our fulfillment, for our joy, for our harmony, for our prosperity, for our health. It is specifically tailoring its good, its love for each and every one of us here and now. So we release, we let go, and we surrender and listen to this infinite love intelligence that is guiding each and every one of us perfectly to be a creative participant in this new and glorious year of 2025. And even as we are each moving through this individually, we are moving through this collectively with this community, with all spiritual communities, with all people who are turning their lives over to the divine presence. We join all of them to be vehicles of divine love, divine good, divine fulfillment, divine healing, divine creativity, beauty, peace. We are in it together. We dance together through all of it, all that 2025 brings. We dance in first cause every step of the way. And for this awareness, I just say thank you, thank you, thank you. I know it is good, and knowing it is good, I can completely release it, take our hands off of it, and we let it be. And I invite you now to join me in saying, and so it is. Amen and amen.
I walk in God in all